Hi friends, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm going to be showing you Cirque's new Bewitched collection. So this is actually a re-release from Halloween, I want to say 2021, but it's a small little collection that features 3 thermal polishes and then 1 glow-in-the-dark topper. So I will save more of my thoughts for the end after some comparisons. For now, let's just get into the swatches. The first polish we have is Cast a Spell, and this one is described as being a pumpkin orange color when cold, as seen here, that transitions to a light peach when warm. So as you can see, I'm running pretty cold here, so it is not transitioning at all. It is just that bright pumpkin orange kind of color. The formula on this one was really smooth. It's kind of like a jelly polish, more or less, where you can see it is pretty sheer. There's definitely a decent amount of nail line even once you do 3 coats, but it's not as glassy as some of Cirque's other jellies, if that makes sense. So you do get a little bit of coverage, especially after a 3rd coat, but I think it's going to be a lot more obvious in the cold state where it's a little darker here, because once it transitions to that peachy color, it's going to be a lot lighter. So again, you're going to see nail line. So here is an example of that. It almost has this colorless kind of effect, but it is like a light peach. I found this one transitioned pretty easily. Next up we have Enchanted, and this one is described as being a vivid purple to lavender to lilac thermal polish. So it's not described as a tri-thermal, but I think that I would describe it that way. Again, because I am running really cold during my swatches here, it's going to be hard to see that in this swatch, but you'll be able to see it a lot better in my skittle portion, so just stay tuned for that. So similar to the last polish, I would say that this one kind of has a bit of a jelly formula, and it's very easy to work with, smooth to apply. It's just a bit sheer, so it wasn't the most even, especially on the 1st coat, but I feel like the 2nd coat really looked a lot better, probably because this is a bit darker. There was still a bit of nail line though, but even if your nails are shorter than mine, I think you could get away with 2 coats. I still ended up doing a 3rd just to show you how that looks, and again, with this cold state here, I would say it's pretty much opaque, but once you see this in the warmer state, it is totally sheer, so you are still gonna see nail line. Again, I'm sorry, I was just running really cold during my swatch here, so I didn't get a clean transition. And the last thermal we have is Witching Hour, and this one is described as a black to spiderweb gray thermal polish with a scattered holographic effect. So by this point, I started to run warm, so you can see the warmer shade, which is that gray color, and then the black is on my tips, which is the colder color. You may have also noticed that in my bottle, it was more of that warmer transition color, and so I was a little bit worried because I was expecting it to just be completely black, since the other 2 thermals were in their cold states, but the bottle for Witching Hour looked like it was kind of in the warm state, but as you can see, it does still transition. And again, formula wise, it's the same as the others where it's more on the jelly side, so it is going to be sheer, and I would recommend doing 3 coats just to make the base more full coverage, especially if you tend to run warm, because it's going to be in the lighter color. So at this point, I was running so warm that I needed a little bowl of ice water to show you the full transition to black, and it is just so cool. This shade is great for peekaboo nail art. And rounding out the collection, we have Phantom Glow, which is Cirque's glow-in-the-dark top coat that glows green. So I'm going to be applying it over Witching Hour. I just did 1 coat, and the great thing about this top coat is that it is completely clear, so it's not going to alter the base at all. The not so great thing about this topper is just the glow-in-the-dark effect. I find that this one is really patchy, it's on the weaker side, and it's also very grainy. So here is the collection worn as a skittle, and I'm wearing 3 coats of each. I unfortunately didn't have direct sunlight, but bright indirect light I think is really good too. So hopefully here you can see that tri-thermal effect on my index and middle finger with Enchanted. I think it's really beautiful, and the other shades again have a really nice transition as well. I was kind of starting to run warm here, so you can see that my pinky and my thumb are starting to lose that black color cooler at the tips, so I went back to grab a cold glass for a little bit and kind of like touch my nails against it, so you can see this strong thermal effect. It just creates this really beautiful gradient, and yeah, just such a cute, spooky little collection. Now getting into comparisons, starting with Cast a Spell, the cold state at least reminded me of Jarritos jelly from the recent Jarritos collection. They're both very similar, warm, kind of orange shades, but I'd say that Cast a Spell is a little bit warmer. It has a little bit more red to it, so even if you do run totally cold, I wouldn't call it a dupe to Jarritos. Then for the warm version of Cast a Spell, I wanted to show it next to Peach Jelly, considering it says that it transitions to a peach shade, and it does, but it's not a dupe for Peach Jelly by any means. So again, if you do run totally warm and you also have Peach Jelly, I wouldn't call these one-to-one dupes because Peach is just a lot darker and warmer. I actually thought the warm state of Cast a Spell looked a little bit more similar to Chiffon, but that one was a little too opaque. Then for the cold state of Enchanted, I wanted to quickly show this next to Guilty Pleasure because I thought that it was looking really bright, but Guilty Pleasure is a neon, so these are not dupes. I thought for better comparisons, it was worth showing Enchanted next to a couple of Cirque's jellies. So again, for the cold state, I thought that Eros jelly would be pretty similar, but as you can see, it's a little too dark. But I still wanted to try to recreate it and use Lavender Sky as the warm transition color, but as you can see here, it is not quite the right shade. I would say that Lavender Sky is a little bit more pinky purple, and then Eros is a little too cool toned, but I did end up trying another combination with Berry Jelly and Haze Jelly, and while Berry Jelly is a little too light or pink leaning, I feel like Haze Jelly is actually pretty close. Then for Witching Hour, I wanted to show this next to Olivav's Icicle, which came out in their winter collection last year. It's the only other kind of light gray with a dainty hollow sparkle that I have, so I thought it would be pretty close to the warm transition color for Witching Hour, but as you can see, it's not really. It's a little too white-based, but also more opaque. So again, I thought I could try to recreate it using Dove Jelly and NSFW Jelly as the gray and black jelly transition colors, and also layering Delírium over top that, which is the dainty hollow sparkle. My recreation didn't come out as neat, but color-wise, they are pretty much a close match. And lastly, for Phantom Glow, I of course am showing this next to Holo Taco's Glow in the Dark Taco. You may have already seen this comparison when Holo Taco first released this polish, and it's the only other glow in the dark topper that I have, so I'm sorry if it's repetitive, but yeah, here is one coat of each over a clear base coat, and you can already see that Holo Taco's is a little bit more milky. So the downside to that is that it is going to kind of affect the base color that you put it over, unlike Cirque, which is completely clear. But the plus side is that Holo Taco just has a much smoother and stronger glow in the dark effect. So you just saw one coat of each, and then here's two coats of each. Again, Cirque is completely clear, so that definitely is a plus side, especially if you're planning to use it over nail art or something. I just think it would work really well as a peekaboo kind of effect. With Holo Taco, you do see more of that greenish tinge, but again, the plus side is that it is just so much stronger in the dark. For reference, this is after about 30 seconds under direct light. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons for Cirque's Bewitched collection. As always, I would love to know your thoughts on this release because generally I think it's like cute. When it first came out a few years ago, I was a lot more excited because I was still new to thermals. I didn't have that many in my collection, and I just really liked these. I guess to be fair, I still do generally like these. The purple and the black I think are really fun, perfect for spooky season. But like I've mentioned in other videos that include thermal polishes, I just am not as excited about them as I used to be, just because if you don't know, thermals have a shorter shelf life, so they will die at some point, kind of similar to how neons will fade eventually. thermals will stop transitioning. So it's a little hard to really enjoy them, especially for someone like me who has a larger collection, because it's very rare that I will like go back and wear or repeat a color. But if you have a smaller collection, or if you just really love thermals, you know, they're worth picking up because they're just really pretty. But I would say that maybe you should skip the glow in the dark topper. I know it's mainly like a personal preference thing, but when it comes to like the quality of the glow in the dark pigment, I feel like the pigment that Cirque uses just isn't that great. I don't love that grainy look, and it's just generally weaker, as you saw, compared to other toppers like Holo Tacos, where it's smoother, it's just stronger. The only plus side to Cirque's is that it's clear, so I guess it depends on like, you know, what you're going for, but I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of that one. And speaking of not being a fan, I figured I should talk about what's been going on with Cirque and their latest scandal. I'm sure if you've been online at all, you have seen what's been going on, especially if you're here on YouTube. You probably have seen either Linry's video or Janix's video, where Cirque basically took a Swatches comparison photo and edited the swatches. This is not something new, unfortunately, to Cirque. It's something that I have talked about on my channel a couple of times before, I think as early as my very first nail polish awards video, where they just will edit the photos to a point that is just egregious. Because to be clear, I do understand the need for like retouching when it comes to color correction specifically, or even like other small things like I think Linry had mentioned, if there's like a cat hair or something, you know, I can understand photoshopping for those reasons. And more specifically when it comes to color correction, because like I've mentioned in my videos, I will give a heads up when something is not color accurate, because I'm just not able to fix it in post. So I will just tell you from the get-go, like, hey, this isn't what it looks like. Actually, it's a little bit more yellow versus orange or whatever. But with Cirque's editing, unfortunately, it just kind of goes way beyond that, where it really goes into like the misleading territory, the false advertising territory. Because even as a consumer myself, I have bought a couple of Cirque polishes, and I've been disappointed by them not looking like the website photos. So yeah, I don't agree with their photoshopping. Like, I know that they did respond to one of the comments that was under that post, but I don't agree with it. And to be fully transparent, I also emailed Cirque to kind of express these concerns, because it's just kind of getting to a point where it's embarrassing, which I don't know if that's going to come across as like unprofessional, but I just wanted to be open and honest with how I feel about the situation, especially because I am a brand affiliate, and I feel like as an affiliate, I have a certain level of responsibility with like talking about these things and being aware of them, but mainly acknowledging that like, yes, this is going on and I don't agree with it. So I do hope that they get back to me and that they issue an apology, because they really should not be photoshopping to the extent that they do. I do think Cirque is a great brand with great products, but they just are like ruining their brand image and making themselves look so bad. For what? Like, I don't understand it. Yeah, I'm sorry that this was very rambly and all over the place or whatever. I probably should have scripted this so I can come across as more articulate. It's not my intention to be like mean to Cirque in these videos or like with these critiques. I can understand that that's how it might look, considering a lot of the times when it comes to review videos, you know, a lot of people are just very positive, and myself included. I mean, I generally have like a very happy-go-lucky nature, and you know, I'm always like excited about things, and I can just easily share that. I feel like for a lot of people who are familiar with my content, know that I have talked about these things before and that I'm not afraid to share my criticisms around brands, even though it is kind of scary to do sometimes because, you know, some brands more than others have very intense fan bases and it can be annoying to just like deal with that. But I don't care because what I care the most about is the truth. So I wanted to share that with you all today. Thank you all so much for listening to that. Again, let me know what you think of these polishes, if you're gonna be picking them up or not, because if you are a fan of thermals, I think they are gonna be cute, but if not, you know, whatever, right? There's so many other Halloween-y type of polishes that we can enjoy. So let me know any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.